keyboard, there's no printer. It's not the computing model that we're thinking about. But what could connectivity do to a pill bottle? Has anybody seen this thing before?
Buzz. Remind you to take it.
Remind you to take your medicine? What else could it do? Could it connect to the network? It could convey information elsewhere, right? So it could tell your doctor or your children that you're taking your medication or that you're not taking your medication. You could reorder, you could find out when you ran out. Connectivity makes a pill bottle more pill bottly, right? It doesn't do anything that a pill bottle shouldn't do, like boil water or, you know, give us the news. But it makes the essence of the device more valuable to us. This exists today, and early trials in a couple of universities has increased the adherence to medical regimens for patients with diabetes and hypertension. And the inventor of this device is right here in Boston. And this is another device the same guys invented. This is the handle of a umbrella, and you see a blue light. What do you think the blue light means?
Not to forget.
Kind of. Anybody else? What would the blue light mean? The rain has been forecast, exactly. Right. This umbrella talks to the internet twice a day and finds out whether there is precipitation forecast for where you are. And it turns the light on to say, it's going to rain. Take me. So it makes the umbrella more umbrella-ish. Right? Right? It increases the utility of the device in the same way that a vacuum cleaner increased the utility of a broom. Okay, I'm stretching, but hopefully you get my point. This is a less obvious item. Anybody know what it is? No? It's called a tag. RFID tag, radio frequency identifying tag. And this is a tag that you can attach to a pallet, a forklift, a pump, some other asset in a hospital, the cap, a miner's helmet, and this can tell us and tell the network that the thing it's attached to is wet or dry, broken, repaired, full, empty, here, there, late, early, whatever status we would like to know about the device. Without having to send a person to go look, that device can self-report in real time about its information, its location, and its context. And that is transforming businesses already, from hospitals and mining operations to logistics and warehouse operations.
Or attach it to our children.
Yes, and in fact there's an amusement park in Dubai that has put active RFID technology on tags, the little lockets that they offer the children to wear while they're in the park, so if they become separated from their parent, they can be found. So, the Anywhere Network. This is a ring. It's a piece of jewelry. Some of the connectivity stuff I see is kind of goofy, and just like electric knives are kind of goofy to some of us, not every connected device is going to be sensible to all of us. Some of them will be laughable. Many of them will find a niche market that some of us think is important. This debuted at the Consumer Electronics show in Las Vegas in January. It's a ring. It's made from platinum, actually. It has a small display using the same technology that the Kindle does, the e-ink display. And it uses Bluetooth, and it can display SMS messages from your phone, so you could get it on your finger, if that's important to you. But more importantly, here's one. Anybody play the piano? Any pianists here? Yeah, a couple. So I'm a piano player, and I have been playing the piano for many years. And I have a stack of music this big, and the spines are broken, the pages are torn, and the pages don't stay put when I would love to have a piano that has a Kindle where the music desk is. You see the music desk on the piano? Why shouldn't I have that? I can. I could have a Kindle that projects my music digitally in the same way that a Kindle, an e-reader device, shows me pages of a book. This is a connected piano from Yamaha. It uses Wi-Fi, but right now all it does is download actual music that I can either play along with or I can play as a player piano. But the day is coming, I kid you not, and if somebody doesn't do it, I will, where we will have a music desk Kindle display on that piano. and it would make the piano more piano-ish. And I'm not going to look at ESPN scores on it, probably. The idea is not to turn everything into a browser or a computer, but the idea is to look at places to couple connectivity with devices. And within, I said there's huge commercial opportunities here. So one of the commercial opportunities is being part of the effort to connect the next 4 or 5 billion people to the global network. Another commercial opportunity is creating some of these connected devices. But within a business, if you start at a standard P&L statement, within a business, there are opportunities from top to bottom. So I'll wrap up by talking about a few of those. Besides reaching new customers, we're going to have new pathways to customers, new ways to reach the customers we have. Anybody seen one of these? Know what it is? Nobody knows about this yet. If you want to invest $25 in understanding the global connectivity revolution, buy this book. But if you want to invest $100 in understanding the global connectivity revolution, buy this device. It's called a Chumby. It looks a little bit like an alarm clock, and I have one, and it has replaced the alarm clock on my nightstand. And in fact, it does provide the services that an alarm clock does, but it's a connected device. It connects to the internet, and I can queue up a set of rotating widgets, media applications that appear on this screen, and I can have Flickr, I can have Twitter, I can have David Letterman's top 10 list from the night before, I can have the weather, I can have news, and I can have alarm clock functionality, all delivered to me. It's not a computer, it has no keyboard, no printer, no browser. Again, it's not about computing, but it's about bringing connectivity to a new piece of real estate in the home, a new commercial opportunity. So where's the commercial opportunity here? If I'm Bloomberg, and I really want people to understand my news, my resources as a financial services expert, I have to think long and hard about how I play in the Chumby environment. It's another path to my potential consumer that's not the computer and not the phone. So new paths to the same customers. There's also a lot of opportunity ahead to lower expenses in our business in creating goods and services. This is a fascinating company. I have no stake in it. I have no stake in any of the things I'm talking about. I hope that's obvious. Maybe I need to say that. This is a business called LiveOps, and they call themselves a virtual call center. They're using a pervasive network across the United States to knit together an army of people who work from home, going back to the days of the cottage industry, to find people when they're available, those hours and moments of free time that people who are housebound have, for whatever reason, to be part of a call center available to field calls for customers, right? So they pay people by the minute. Imagine for a moment, if you're a business owner, the tremendous efficiency, the difference between building a building and having a building full of people sitting around waiting for the phone to ring versus having a resource in the cloud, in the network, an army of people who are ready to answer a phone from 9:30 to 10:30 in the morning, or from 7:45 to 8:45, and only charge you for the minutes when they're handling a call. Incredible efficiencies from using the network to deliver labor to us when we need it. Besides that, there are tremendous cost savings involved in adding connectivity to lots of other activities in the business. I mentioned miners' hats. These are helmets that miners wear that have lamps on them, but they also have that RFID tag technology I mentioned in them as well. And this is extremely important to the miners for their own safety, because we can know where they are in the mine. But there's an enormous cost savings also at foot here, which is probably why this is being deployed so rapidly. Because mines need ventilation, and the huge turbines that have to spin up to ventilate shafts are incredibly expensive. So why not make sure that we know that there are people in the shaft before we ventilate the shaft? And why not make sure that we know how many people are there so that we know how much ventilation to create? So enormous cost savings by being able to track our assets in the business. And finally, in the core of the business for the last 50 years has been an enormous center of expense. And it has produced lots of productivity in the US and elsewhere. But it's a huge cost center as well, and that's the IT department. All those computers, all those people, all those raised floors and expensive air conditioning. When I first started in computers, the people in the computer center wore white lab coats because it was like they were priests of a cult. And that's changed a bit, but there's still an enormous amount of money spent by businesses, large and small, every year on fixed infrastructure. So I talked about the analogy of the maturation of electricity and what transformation that brought to the things in our lives. Think back to that same era and what you remember of history as before electricity was standardized and plentiful and affordable. Businesses generated their own power. They operated their own power plants, printing presses and breweries and businesses of all kinds that made goods and services could not rely on the standard electrical grid that we see here, and they made their own power. We're in the same boat now. For the last 50 years, we've been generating our own computing resources. We buy computers, we pay people to run them, we buy software to live on them. And we are about to embark, because of the rise of the network, on a massive shift in how corporate computing is accomplished, which is known in the industry as cloud computing. Because I don't need to buy a computer. AT&T or IBM or somebody else can buy a computer and can sell me cycles, access to that computer, as long as the network has the ability to deliver that capacity to me. So I don't need to run my own power plant. I don't need to have my own computing center. I can have a dynamic, flexible, and low-cost computing resource elsewhere that somebody runs for me. So big changes in the impact both on the revenue and on the cost of a business through the use of a network. So, just to wrap up, I have not been paying attention to time. This is a vision that provides, I think, some context for things that are happening to all of us now as we think about the battle that AT&T and Verizon are having over how reliable and capacious are their networks. That is all about the economics that are compelling them to build out their networks further. But I think it suggests a lot of things ahead. We'll have more connected consumers, more devices ahead, new paths to consumers because of those devices, new kinds of businesses as we can depend on the network to resource our businesses, and as we can bring connectivity to many more devices and processes in our business, we can operate faster and with greater agility. So, bottom line, it's a huge wave of opportunity and threat for businesses. Businesses that don't respond will be sidelined by the rapidity, I think, of the uptake of phenomena like cloud computing and connected devices. And businesses that are nimble, that take advantage of that, will have the competitive edge. So in terms of advice, what I've been telling people is if you're associated with a business, you could do a lot to think about how urgent your business's move to anywhere might be. What parts of the business have we not yet explored adding connectivity? How connected are our customers? Are we operating in a part of the world where the network is moving quickly? Let's look at the business for the best opportunities we have to add connectivity and be an evangelist for the positive impact of the expansion of the network. So, that's it. I'm done.